What's going on, guys, and welcome to my FIFA 17 demo review. Yes, the wait is finally over. The FIFA 17 demo is available to download, so if you haven't got it already, do go ahead and check out your store. It should be available for you to download on the PSN store. It's on the homepage right now. Go ahead and download the demo. It is really worth checking out. And in this video, I'm going to give you my feedback on the demo, my first impressions, if you will. I do this every year. Give you my assessment really on how I feel the demo is, talk about the gameplay, the layout, the presentation, etc, and I really do hope you guys enjoy this video. So yeah, this review will be broken up into several different categories. We'll start off with the layout, the menus and whatnot, then the presentation, then the graphics, and then the gameplay, which will be broken up to sub-categories, including goalkeepers, defending, passing and off the ball movement, finishing chances, the speed of the game, and just my overall assessment on the FIFA 17 demo. So the one thing I'll say straight away though is that this is probably not the final build. The game will most likely be tweaked a little bit on full release, but it does give you some impression of how FIFA 17 will be. So of course I've been playing FIFA since '99. That was my first one, an old chip PS1. The game's of course evolved so much since then, and I have to say, after last year's atrocious FIFA, which in my opinion was the worst of all time, EA have definitely made some improvements this year, and I do want to discuss those with you. So we'll start off with the menu layout. Then you saw it very briefly as we sped up and got into this game here between Real Madrid and Juventus. What you'll notice is that it's pretty much the exact same as last year, just with a new coat of paint. Obviously last year we saw the sky blue colour theme. This year it's yellow and black, and that's pretty much it. The menus are pretty much the exact same as last year, with no noticeable changes. Although the one thing I'll say is that they didn't really need a revamp, I don't feel. Like, I really don't think people were crying out to it for a new menu layout. It's totally the same as last year, just a bit different colours, and that's all it needed really. Then we move on to the presentation, and again you would have seen it pre-games. We get into this one between Real Madrid and Juventus. It has improved slightly. It does seem a little bit more realistic and lifelike. For example, the players when they were introducing themselves to one another in the handshakes, just subtle differences you notice. The player animations are a little bit more different now, which is kind of cool. But as for the presentation of how the sort of the TV broadcast thing feels, it does seem quite similar to last year. But one thing I will say is that this is a kickoff friendly game, so of course you can't expect too much of a build up to it. And I have been told that it will be different in career mode this year. It'll be a bit more realistic, a bit more interactive, and you'll see Martin Tyler and Alan Smith discussing things that are relative to your in-game careers and how they're currently going, as Juventus take the lead with some atrocious defending from me. Let's move on to the graphics then, and a really perfect time for this as well, as Higuain starts celebrating here against one of his former clubs. Obviously graphics this year are greatly improved, and I discussed this on Twitter last night and said the greatest compliment I can pay this demo is that the graphics are just absolutely fantastic. Now of course this year on next gen, or new gen if you will, they've added Frostbite as the engine, and I've got to say, as someone who doesn't really notice too much difference in graphics year after year, maybe that's my bad eyesight or just lack of care, I don't know. I don't really care too much about the graphics. I can say for definite this year that there is a huge change, a really noticeable change in the graphic quality, and it's absolutely fantastic. The Frostbite engine looks really good. It makes the players look really good. The whole sort of environment, really, the grass, the pitch, the advertising hoardings, the stadiums in general. I don't know whether they've been improved so much, the sort of the exterior of the actual game that's going on, so again the stadium and whatnot, but it does feel like it's better, and in particular the player faces just far improved. The scans are obviously very good, and it just looks like a far better game graphically speaking from last year. You can notice a big change. You play FIFA 16, you move on to FIFA 17's demo, you'll notice a huge change in how the players look, the way they react and whatnot, and I think one thing I noticed as well, which is a little bit of a subtle change but something which is quite nice, is that the players seem to be a bit more emotional. Now, I don't mean that Aunt Irma's visiting them, IT crowd reference, but what I mean is the players do seem a little bit more, they seem to care a little bit more than normal, which I think is kind of cool, because obviously in previous FIFAs gone by, you miss a chance, you might see a player put his hands on his head, but really it's not going to be too big of a deal for them, because again it's a video game and you can't really capture the real life emotion. But this year they seem to have done a much better job with that. I've played a few games now. I think this is my 5th one on the demo, and there were a couple of games where I had some really late chances and some really bad misses, and I saw the players reacting. And one thing as well that's worth talking about too is that there are managers on the touchline now as well, and I played some games with United and City and Chelsea, and I saw the likes of Mourinho and Conte on the touchline with the cutscenes going to them, and they were reacting, which I thought was kind of cool. As you see Benzema score here and make it 1-1, and a new celebration too. Last year we could start running to the substitutes and the cameraman as well. Now, as you can see, carrying Benzema for us is able to run on to the advertising hoarding, which I thought was kind of cool. I saw a fellow FIFA YouTuber, Chesnoid Gaming, discussing this, so I thought I'd have a go myself, and he's right, you can indeed celebrate on the advertising hoardings now, which is kind of cool. Just another little niche feature there that EA have added. Not too big of an improvement, but certainly something which is kind of cool and really awesome to see. So yeah, graphically speaking, again, just to sum it up, it's much better than last year, you know, put it this way. And this is coming from someone who, again, doesn't really notice too many graphical improvements year after year. It's far better than last year though, you can definitely tell that for sure. The Frostbite engine looks and works fantastically well, and I really do feel as though EA have done a great job with that. So for this year, I feel like the graphics are just far improved, and you can definitely notice that too, which is really cool. So now let's move on to the gameplay as well, which is broken up into several different subcategories. This is obviously the most important thing people will want to know about, and if you haven't played the demo yourself, again, I do encourage you guys to check it out because it is a little bit different to last year. But the one thing I'll say is that there are some very, very similar problems arising from last year, which again I will discuss with you, and maybe you guys agree, maybe you guys disagree. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think. But anyway, let's get straight into it then, and we'll start off with the goalkeepers. Now, goalkeepers, you would have seen in this game already, we're half an hour in now, over half an hour in. The goalkeepers do seem a little bit more improved. GG's positioning sense, for example, in this game was very, very decent indeed, although I think he could have saved the Higuain shot, but maybe that's just me being a little bit too critical there. But goalkeepers do seem a little bit more improved. I feel like their positioning is better than last year. This is coming from someone who used to play in goal, albeit at junior football level, but used to get hammered for my poor positioning from time to time. I think goalkeepers do seem to have a little bit more better of a little better positional sense, if that does make sense. They feel as though they have more, I guess, just a better understanding of where they should be positioning themselves at the time. They don't seem to stray way far off their line from time to time. They don't seem to be going to one side of the goal more often than not. It seems like they're quite central, and most importantly, they seem to react quite well as to when an attack is building and when to come out, when to close down the angles, and when to stay on their line, which is kind of cool as well, especially with corners too. I didn't notice so far, I played about 6-7 games on the demo, I think. I haven't noticed goalkeepers coming out for corners and getting caught in no man's land like last year and years before that too. So again, I think positional sense and also aerial ability for goalkeepers has improved, and as for saving shots just in general, again, I feel like last year they're pretty decent at that too. So goalkeepers, not overpowered, not underpowered, but again, I do feel like they're being slightly tweaked and a little bit better this year. Moving on to defending, you would have seen some atrocious defending in this game for the first goal which Higuain scored. I feel as though it's like last year in the sense that sometimes you feel as though you're in complete control of your centre-back and you feel like you're the best in the world. Sometimes you feel as though you're Bambi on ice, you know, and you're going to fall over at any moment. I just feel as though it's very inconsistent defending, and I also feel like your AI teammates too sometimes can appear quite structured and in line with their other defenders and feel like they know what they're doing, they're quite organised. Sometimes there's a breakdown and there is no defensive line whatsoever. It's really inconsistent for me. From what I found so far is that sometimes the defending is good, sometimes the defending is bad. I mean, just in general, you know, as I said before, you know, I can defend quite well sometimes, but also sometimes I do find it really difficult. Sometimes it's my fault, like you saw with it, and saw with Pepe breaking out of line and messing up the defensive line, as I continue to do it, even though I just sort of berated myself for it, but I want to go back, so it's okay. But yeah, you know, sometimes I'm okay at defending, sometimes I'm quite bad. I think it's quite similar to last year, though. It's inconsistent, and of course it will change as the games go on and how difficult your opponents are too. So don't read too much into that. I think that's more of a me problem, my bad defending, as opposed to anything wrong with the game. But still, moving on, we're going to look at passing and off the ball movement now real quick too. You would have noticed during this game there were some decent off the ball runs from my teammates, which is really, really good to see, because as I said last year, and I say all the time really, one of EA's big problems in their game is static movement off the ball, and it's really, really frustrating from someone someone who, you know, I'm 23, almost 24. I've been playing and watching football since I was about 5-6 years old. I know enough about football to know where players should be running at certain times. And you can see right here, this is a really, really nice build-up. This is far better than last year. Last year, your teammates would usually just stand around with their hands in their pockets, not really wanting to do too much and move around. And it just got frustrating to the point where you couldn't really have too many nice passing build-ups because your passing might be okay from time to time, but for the most part, your teammates just stood there and didn't really want to move and just stood there like mannequins. So it was quite frustrating. But this year, I do feel as though teammates do make better off the ball movement and off the ball runs, particularly the fullbacks as well. You see in this game too, Marcelo in particular, getting down that left flank quite a bit, giving me support on the overlap, and that's really cool to see. So I feel as though this year off the ball movement has improved. That was definitely necessary too, because last year, like I said, way too static, and in previous years, way too static as well. I will be honest, it still does need a lot of work. Sometimes teammates do make the wrong type of runs, and still do stand there with their hands in their pockets sometimes when they should be moving and trying to create some kind of opportunity and create some space. But, you know, for the most part, I think it has improved slightly. And as for passing as well, I have to say, this is the one thing I'm really pleased about too. Now, obviously, you will misplace passes from time to time. That does happen. That's just one of those things. But it is improved from last year. Now, obviously, last year, it was kind of ironic how FIFA's tagline was play beautiful, yet most of our goals probably came on a counter-attack, and it was very, very hard to score really nice team goals. This year I think it's a little bit better. You know, my passing this year has improved because last year, of course, I struggled a lot with it, mainly due to the fact that sometimes I could play like a 50-yard pass across the pitch, which was really, really accurate and right to my teammates' feet. Yeah, sometimes I'll be close towards the penalty area after like a 17 pass build-up, and I want to play a simple 5-yard pass to my teammates stood next to me, and I boot the ball out of touch for a throw-in. It was really, really inconsistent last year, and just so frustrating to actually string passes together and have a good build-up. And it was really ironic because, again, that was what the game was all, you know, supposed to be all about, really. You know, really nice passing football. Couldn't really do it last year, which I found really, really funny. But this year, well, I say funny, frustrating, really. But this year, the passing is better. You will notice that too. Obviously, when you're using a good team like Real Madrid I'm using right now, obviously you are going to notice an increase in quality of movement and passing anyway. But I just feel like in general, I think the worst team I've used so far was Seattle Sounders. Was it Seattle Sounders? The American team on the game, I think it was Seattle Sounders. And I've still found it, you know, much easier to move the ball around than last year. Passing's way more consistent now. Yes, again, you know, from time to time you will misplace passes, especially if you're not facing the right way or you're using a player just isn't really known for good short passes or long passes. But passing definitely has improved from last year. So has off the ball movement, and I really want to discuss that in detail because it was a big gripe for me last year. If you watched any of my videos last year, you'll know that I was so frustrated with it, and I was so annoyed how I just couldn't really get good off the ball movement and couldn't really move the ball around the way I wanted to. Ironic there as I get the ball away with a terrible pass, but that was my fault really. But either way, this year far improved, much better, and a really good job from EA. Finishing chances I feel is quite similar to last year. Sometimes I can do okay as I sort of mess up here with Ronaldo. Sometimes I can do okay in front of goal. You see in this game I scored one with Benzema, but sometimes I struggle really. I break through and I just can't hit the target, even with like a really clinical striker. In fact, funny enough, there was a moment in this game with Benzema and I was one-on-one, got myself inside, but couldn't even hit the target. Finishing chances, again, like last year, is quite inconsistent. Sometimes I can feel quite deadly in front of goal. Sometimes I can feel, you know, just absolutely awful. It's quite inconsistent, but again, I think that's quite a good thing too, because it means that not every game is going to be like 5-4 with the strikers finishing every single chance. Not every game is going to be like 0-0 though, where you can't score for toffee. Like, you will score goals in this game, and again, I think it's really just about your natural ability. I don't feel like the game sort of gives you any kind of help this year in front of goal, and I don't feel like there's any kind of sort of luck compensator either. I feel like in general, it's what it should be really. It's how good you are in front of goal, how composed you are, and that's how it should be. So yeah, finishing chances the same really as last year, and it's just one of those things where you have to improve if you want to score more goals. Simple as that. But anyway, moving on as we come towards the final part of the gameplay, the one thing I really want to discuss as well, just to end this, is the speed of the game. Now, last year I talked about the gameplay as being far too slow, far too static, and at times the game came to a walking pace really, where neither side seemed intent on scoring goals and creating chances, and it was really frustrating. But this year I feel as though it has improved a little bit too. The speed of the game this year does seem seem a little bit faster. It's actually quite funny because some people have told me they feel like it's quite slower this year. Some people say slower, some people say faster. I guess it depends on what teams we're using and our style of play and our opponent's style of play. But what I found personally is that on the whole, it does feel a little bit quicker than last year. Yes, there are times where the game can slow down and become a little bit too technical, and that's totally fine because that happens in real life too. But I do feel as though you can get out the pitch a little bit quicker than last year if you really want to. If you mix your passing up a little bit and also you have good off the ball movement, as we discussed earlier, you can create the space to open up avenues for you to explore as you go up the pitch. So I do feel as though it's a little bit quicker than last year, and also as well, I feel like the AI in general, you know, sometimes do want to get the ball forward a little bit more than last year. Last year, I discussed the AI as being like a huge problem on Legendary. The game was often at times considered unplayable because the AI didn't really care. This year, you know, the AI can get forward a little bit quicker if they really want to. They can show a little bit more urgency. I think it still is a big problem how, again, the AI on Legendary don't take too many shots and don't create too many clear-cut chances. I completely mess up here with Morata. But I feel like it has improved slightly. It has improved slightly. So, again, the fundamental issue for me really with the game is the AI on Legendary being very slow, being very laboured in their possession, and being very, I guess, just not really too interested in scoring goals, which is kind of funny when this is football, and it feels as though they don't really care too much. You can see right now there's still only been one shot in the entire game from Juventus, which was the goal they scored in the first few minutes, and that is still a big problem, and I think you guys will probably find that out as well. My overall assessment of the demo is this: it has improved from last year. The game does feel a little bit better than last year. Once again, I will say it's not the final build. It will most likely change a little bit as we see the full release. But I do feel like the game is slightly better than last year. Last year, as I mentioned, was, in my opinion, as someone who's played since '99 and also played previous copies around friends' houses and whatnot, I can safely say for definite it was the worst FIFA of all time. I cannot stand it at all. But this year it has improved. Again, the movement is good. That's a really key thing for me. The passing's a lot better too. Very helpful indeed. And I feel like in general the game has got better. I think if you buy this game and play it online, you will really enjoy it. I feel as though when you have two opponents, you and whoever your human opponent is going to be, wanting to attack, wanting to score goals, you will find it to be a really enjoyable game and very fun. But offline or Legendary, that is the problem, which again I'll briefly discuss right now before the video ends. I feel like it's going to be a bit similar to last year in the sense that the AI don't really care about creating chances too much, don't press you as much as they possibly can to win the ball back and get the ball forward urgently. They're very slow. They're very samey. Every opponent plays the exact same way. You won't notice any kind of difference in play style. It is quite the same as last year in terms of the AI. But as for you, as for your movement, as for your direct control over the game, again, it is better. And on the whole, it is a better game this year than last year. At least that's my opinion. So my overall assessment of the demo, yeah, it's quite good. It's better than last year. At first I found it quite frustrating, but after a few games more I did find it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun to play. Again, the same fundamental problems as last year in terms of the AI on Legendary, but again, if you're playing this game online, you won't even notice that because you're playing against a human opponent, and you'll find this game an awful lot of fun. So yeah, FIFA 17 demo, overall assessment, pretty decent. There are some really good improvements from last year, as I discussed during this demo review, and I do believe you guys will enjoy playing this game as well. So to end this video, I will say thank you very much for watching, guys. I do hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then please do consider leaving a like. Likes are of course much appreciated and really help the channel grow as well. Do leave me a comment as well and tell me what you thought about the demo. Have you played it yet? Let me know in the comment section down below. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with what I said in this demo review? Do you disagree with what I said as well? That's totally fine. Let me know in the comment section down below and tell me what you thought about it. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, I do recommend it. I'll be uploading FIFA 17 videos every single day when the game is released, and tomorrow as well I'll have a video on the journey too, so look forward to that. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you have enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did, and I'll see you for another video on my channel very soon.